Hello, people. This is Moonlight. I'm here with what is week 2 for the PWC Season 5. I am doing a post-com this week because I wasn't able to record this battle live. That was simply due to the timing of when we scheduled the match. But I am here with the post-com. This is late. I had a very busy week, so I couldn't really record it at any point during the week. But luckily, stuff is starting to calm down for me, so I should have a relatively regular upload schedule for the foreseeable future. And so, hopefully, all goes well. So, this week, week 2, we took on PETA and his flying Squirtles. I believe PETA is a he. I'm not entirely sure. Feel free to correct me. So, their team consists of Lucario, Zapdos, Deoxys Defense, Manaphy, Mega Swampert, Mamoswine, Politoed, Ninetales, Noivern, Drapion, Shiinotic. So, pretty intimidating team on his end. I personally was expecting him to bring the Lucario, the Zapdos, the Deoxys, the Mega Swampert, the Politoed, and the Mamoswine. Because, it's Mega Swampert. What more do I even need to say? The thing hits like an absolute truck. Politoed, really good defensively. It can actually, fun fact, if I'm not banded Urshifu, the thing actually has a chance to live 2 Wicked Blows, rest, and then can just rest talk. With the possibility of getting like a Scald Burn. Against Urshifu, so it serves as an alright check for Urshifu on his team. Noivern and Drapion also fill that role, as does Shiinotic. The problem with Shiinotic is that it gets obliterated by a poison jab. So that's an issue for him, because he has a difficult time switching into Urshifu. Mamoswine hits my team really damn hard. I have a really difficult time switching into it. Same goes for Zapdos. Mamoswine, I had some semblance of a counter to it. Zapdos, pretty much nothing. Like, absolutely nothing on my team wants to come in on Zapdos. Deoxys Defense, really good wall for pretty much everything minus my Urshifu, and to an extent Mega Scizor, because it can eat hits, and then it's just fat. It's just really damn fat. And then finally, Lucario, his signature. During the draft, this was the team I was most scared for. Just like as the draft slowly progressed, I was like, holy jeez, this team is stacked. So, Lucario hits hard, is fast, base 90 speed, can be run physical or special, so you have to take that into account. And can very easily sweep games if your counter to it goes down. This was a really difficult match for me to sort of prep for. So, first mon I have is Orbeetle. Leftovers Sub Calm Mind with Psychic and Energy Ball. Max HP, 176 speed with the Timid Nature, the rest in special attack. I believe that this speed investment is to guarantee to outspeed I believe it was a max speed Mamoswine. I don't remember if this was for, Jolly max speed Mamoswine. So if he was banded Jolly, I would guarantee to outspeed it. Orbeetle, I didn't really know what to do with it for this week. I thought Subcalm Mind could be a good set. I thought it was the only really viable set this week. A defensive Orbeetle doesn't do too much, because Mega Swampert, Mamoswine, and Zapdos all sort of blow it back, as does Noivern. So defensive wasn't really an option. This was one of the matches where Orbeetle was much more of a hindrance than it was a benefit, because I easily could have brought something like Porygon Z over it. So, but my hope going into this match was that this thing would be able to do something. Frisk is nice to have. Next we have Urshifu, Choice Scarf, Adamant, Max, Wicked Blow, Close Combat, U-Turn, Poison Jab. Poison Jab is there for the Shiinotic. Wicked Blow and Close Combat for stab and hit his team really hard. U-Turn, really good for momentum. So the reason I decided to run Adamant Scarfed is because the only Mon that I thought that if he was going to go Scarfed, he would probably either go with Zapdos or Mamoswine. Zapdos didn't really see it because I feel like he would want heavy-duty boots in case I brought rocks. Or maybe he would want Life Orb on Zapdos to hit my team even harder, because that thing doesn't hit hard enough already. And the only other Mon that I felt could really be run Scarfed on his team, like reasonably well, is Mamoswine. So, Adamant Max Speed, Urshifu guaranteed outspeeds a Scarfed Max Jolly Mamoswine, if I remember my calcs correctly. It is because this thing is has a base speed that's 17 points higher than Mamoswine's. So it does guarantee outspeed. So Wicked Blow in Close Combat just blow his team back. I don't even need to be banded to really hit him hard. So this was my primary Revenge Killer, Breaker, whatever. This team was much more defensively built and more defensively oriented. So the goal for this team was to slowly whittle him down to the point where Urshifu could clean up. Next we have Red Wind Mega Scizor. This was my Mamoswine check. Roost, Bullet Punch, Knockoff, U-Turn. Impish with pretty much max HP, pretty max defense, and then 8 in attack. With this investment, it was a 25% chance for me to be 2-hit KO'd by a Adamant Banded Earthquake from Mamoswine. And Bullet Punch was always a 2-hit KO unless he was like super bulky with Babiri Berry, or if he just had Babiri Berry. I think Babiri Berry max HP. I think he would have been able to tank too. But Roost is good for HP recovery. Bullet Punch for stab. Knockoff hits his team hard, and U-Turn is good for momentum. And once again hits his team hard because stab U-Turn. So not too much to say about it. It could also serve sort of as a Mega Swampert check, not really. Yeah, and it can, and depending on his Deoxys set, this thing can easily come in for free against that thing and just start spamming like knockoffs or U-turns or bullet punches. So I can bring my other stuff in in the case of U-turn. Next we have Mascot the Dust Noir, Assault Vest, Poltergeist, Earthquake, Shadow Sneak, Ice Punch, max HP, 108 in attack with the Adamant Nature and 76 in Spadef. So this investment was so I can guaranteed take, so it was so that a Life Orb Hurricane from Zapdos was a guaranteed 3-hit KO. So Poltergeist is there because it hits everything on his team. Because let me double check, I do not believe he has a normal type on his team. No, he does not. He does not have a normal type. So Poltergeist goes unchecked, and as long as Mega Swampert isn't Mega Evolved, he gets hit. Poltergeist does hit him. Earthquake was there for the Lucario, and the Drapion. Shadow Sneak is there, so in case I'm about to die, I can get some last-minute chip off, or I could pick something off. Ice Punch is there for the Zapdos and the Noivern. This was my primary Noivern and Zapdos check. Just meant to whittle them down with Ice Punches or Poltergeists, so that Urshifu could come in and kill them, or so that I could pick them off with a Shadow Sneak. Next, we have Papa Noodle, the Tangrowth, with the Assault Vest, Giga Drain, Knockoff, Earthquake, Leaf Storm, Sassy Nature, Max HP, 220 Defense, and 36 in Spadef. So I built this as my primary check to Mega Swampert and my primary check to Lucario. Because, like I said, Lucario obliterates my team if I don't have... Like, if he managed to get to plus 2, either physically or specially, it can blow through my team. So, I need this thing to serve as a check to it, especially like a special set. Because a plus 2 +2 Vacuum Wave is not something Urshifu appreciates. Not at all. Although, to be fair, Tangrowth doesn't appreciate a +2 Focus Blast from that thing either. But Earthquake is there for the Lucario. Giga Drain is there to get HP back against the Politoed and Mega Swampert and maybe the Manaphy. Knockoff is there, obvious reasons. And then Leaf Storm is there, so that way I can hit stuff hard. Like if his Zapdos is low and I know he's probably going to bring it in, I can Leaf Storm that thing and possibly knock it out, depending on his HP investment. And so last we have Tapu Fini. This one was, Madam Mist was a very last minute addition to the team. I think I added it the night before. So choice specs with Moonblast, Surf, Ice Beam, Grass Knot, max HP, max special attack, Modest. This thing's primary goal is just to hit his team really hard and do a lot of damage. That's really about it. Moonblast and Surf are there for stab. Because they hit his team really hard. Surf is there. Surf hits Mammo really hard. Ninetales really hard. Moonblast hits the Noivern hard. It hits the Drapion hard. It hits the Lucario hard. The Zapdos hard. Ice Beam is there for the Zapdos and the Noivern as well as the Shiinotic. And then Grass Knot is there for the Mega Swampert and the Manaphy. And the Politoed. So, that was the team. So, we have the replay here. The one Mon that he didn't bring that I thought he would bring is no Mammo. Instead, he brings Noivern. And I was super relieved that he did not bring the Mamoswine because Mega Scizor is not the most reliable check to that thing. It does mean that Mega Scizor's usefulness is significantly less than it was, but I'm perfectly fine with that. I can use it as a pivot option against his team. So, here, as far as lead matchups go, I decided that Tapu Fini would be a really good lead because Zapdos, unless I believe he is choice specs, Thunder cannot kill Tapu Fini. And Tapu Fini, I'm pretty sure, kills back with an Ice Beam if he's not max HP Zapdos or Yachi. So I decided to lead off with Fini because a Grass Knot obliterates Mega Swampert. Politoed really doesn't appreciate the hit. Noivern doesn't appreciate an Ice Beam or a Moonblast. Deoxy's defense doesn't appreciate a Moonblast. Neither does Lucario. So, I lead off with Tapu Fini as he leads off with his Deoxys. Here, I didn't really know what he would want to go. I wasn't entirely sure what kind of Deoxys set he was, so thought it'd be best to scout it out. If he's Thunder Wave, so be it. If he's Taunts, then that's fantastic for me. If he wants to get up his rocks here, that's perfectly fine with me. The only Mon that it really hurts is Orbeetle, and even then Orbeetle is just sort of there, I guess. So I just go for Moonblast here, as he goes for a knockoff, which was really solid play on his end, gets rid of my specs. So I go for the Moonblast here. I do get the crit, so it's as if he was hit by a specs Moonblast anyways, but the crit was super nice because it sort of helped me to gauge damage, sort of, because I know that for a fact that this is definitely a more SPDEF-oriented Deoxys because a crit, if he was physical, would have done a lot more. So I could tell that this was certainly more SPDEF-oriented Deoxys. Just how much SPDEF investment and what nature he was, still sort of a mystery. So here I just go for another Moonblast, I believe, as he gets up his rocks. Yep, I do. So he goes down to 31%. At this point, it's sort of looking to me like knockoff is probably his only move to attack. I'm assuming that he would have recover, and then I felt like he would want something like taunt or toxic. So I just go for another Moonblast here. So he goes for recover. This time Moonblast does less, and this leftovers recovery is going to be annoying on this thing. This thing in general is annoying. I do get the special attack drop, which is nice. And so this time, as I go for the Moonblast, I outspeed, and I'm like, that's interesting, given that this thing naturally outspeeds me. Turns out he's running Teleport. So, he goes out into his Zapdos. So his full learns moveset is um, Stealth Rock Knockoff, Teleport, and Recover, which means that he cannot touch Mega Scizor. So whenever Deoxys defense comes in, I can always go freely into Mega Scizor and just U-turn on out of there, or go for a knockoff. Either one works. So here he goes into Zapdos. I know that he can't kill me, even if he's Life Orb, and he risks the Thunder Miss. So here I just go for an Ice Beam because I know it's going to do a lot, and it'll help me figure out what kind of Zapdos this is. As he reveals the Discharge, which, touche, my friend, touche. He doesn't have to worry about Thunder missing outside of Rain, and then there's the 30% para chance, which is not fun. So the Ice Beam comes off here, and it does a lot. 68% is a lot, and so that tells me that this is probably a not that he has, if anything, minimal bulk investment. He's definitely an offensive Zapdos. So at this point, I decided to let Tapu Fini go down here. I don't really want Chip on anything else. It's done its job. It's helped me. I mean, at this point, I know Deoxys, what kind of Deoxys he is, a more Spadef kind, what his moveset is. And I've been able to not only weaken the Zapdos, but figure out what kind of Zapdos he is, although I foresaw an offensive Zapdos going into this match. So at this point, I just sack Tapu Fini, so that way I can get a free switch into Dusknoir, which is my Zapdos counter. So here, because he has no normal type, and because his Swampert isn't Mega'd yet, I just go for the Poltergeist here. And so it does 50% to this, and nice chunk. And so, turns out that I'm Pressure instead of Frisk. And that was super, super annoying. Because at that point, I had no idea what the item on the Zapdos was. Bringing this thing in on like a Noivern, I would have no idea what it was. So that was super annoying. Big misplay on my end. I guess I just completely overlooked that ability. But, c'est la vie, as the French say. So, here he brings in the Mega Swampert, and I don't want to take Chip on this thing, so I double into my Tangrowth, which is my counter to this thing, as he reveals the tech, the Darkest Lariat. Interesting pick. I can understand why he would want it, because both the Dusknoir and for the Orbeetle. Although I feel like a Waterfall still would have done a lot. Although Waterfall still would have done a lot to Dusknoir, an Ice Punch would still do a lot to the Orbeetle, but it is what it is. So here I go for a Giga Drain, I believe, as he just flip turns out. So he goes into his Noivern here, and I just Giga Drain off. So now I double into Dusknoir, which is my counter to this thing, and he does show the Hurricane. So does 26%, which tells me that he is it does tell me that he is not Specs, which is really nice because Specs Noivern is hard to switch in on. For anybody who's either played against Noivern or has used Noivern, a Specs Hurricane is not fun to switch in on, let alone a Specs Draco or Boomburst. So here I go for the Ice Punch. I'm expecting him to want to stay in because a Poltergeist doesn't kill at this range. So I'm expecting him to want to stay in with this thing, as he misses the Hurricane, which really sucks. And the Noivern does go down here, and so that Hurricane miss is relatively big in the long run of the game, because had he gotten that had he hit that Hurricane, Dusknoir's effectiveness would have been significantly less. Would be significantly less than it currently is. So that would have been a big problem later in the game, as you'll see what happens. So Noivern goes down, Dusknoir picks up his first kill of the season, and I just go into my Tangrowth on his Mega Swampert. Darkest Lariat once again, and he flip turns back out into Deoxys Defense, which I was perfectly fine with. I knock off, I get rid of its leftovers, so I don't have to worry about that. And here I just go into Scizor. So at this point, I go for a knockoff, right? Yeah, I went for a knockoff here because had he decided to not had he decided to not recover that turn and he decided to stay in, I don't know why he would, but a knockoff into a U-turn from that range would always kill the Deoxys defense based off of the calcs I had. So in comes the Politoed here, and I get rid of its Stamp Rock, and that is big for this match because not only does it limit Mega Swampert's efficiency, but it also limits Zapdos's efficiency. And the reason I say that is because Zapdos, his Zapdos is probably running Hurricane, because, I mean, it got that, getting Hurricane is a huge buff for that thing, and under Rain, that thing is a monster, so that was very big, very big, very important. So here I U-turn out into my Orbeetle, because this was the only real thing I could sub up and Calm Mind up on. So here he goes for Skull, does 36%, and so at this point I was like, okay, what does he end up doing here? He could stay in and Scald or Ice Beam me, and I can get to +1, tank the hit, and hit him back with like an Energy Ball or Psychic. Or I could go for a sub here, expecting him to switch out and be able to hit something with an Energy Ball or a Psychic. So here I just go for Calm Mind as he doubles out into his Zapdos. So I made the wrong play there. Sadly, even at +1, I can't take a hit from this thing. So at this point, I decide to let Orbeetle go down so I can bring in my Urshifu for free. No, not my Urshifu, my Dusknoir, because I still didn't know what kind of Zapdos this was. I would have known that he wasn't Boots. I would have known that he wasn't Scarf here. Had I had Frisk in the first place, then I would have gotten Urshifu here to go for the Wicked Blow. But he stays in, which is fine. So he goes into his Politoed here as I go for an Ice Punch. And here I double into my Tangrowth as he goes for a Rest. So I knew I knew this thing would be annoying to kill. So he goes into his Deoxys here, and I go for a Giga Drain. So here I go into my Mega Scizor, expecting him to want to knock off my item or go for a Recover. Goes for a knockoff. It does absolutely nothing. Even as a crit, it does 8%. So here I just go for a U-turn, because whatever he wants to bring in, a U-turn is super free. And so he brings in his Mega Swampert here, and at this point, I can just very freely go into my Urshifu. And so at this point, it becomes a matter of, alright, what's your sack? Completely forgetting about the Lucario, he goes into it, I go for the Wicked Blow, and he gets to +1. So, at this point, I'm in a very, very bad position. Because if he is special, I can take it, I'll be at 50%, give or take. But I'll be at 50% with this thing, and this thing will be dead if he's special. If he's physical with extreme speed, then I can't come back in on rocks. It's that simple. So, if he's Adamant Life Orb. If he's like Banded, then I just drop here. So, I really didn't know what to do here. He could have, and then there was the idea that he could have Nasty Plotted or Swords Danced right up in my face if I switched out. So I decided here it would be worth it risking the Urshifu, as he doesn't go for an Extreme Speed or Vacuum Wave, and down goes the Lucario. So I did find out after the match that this Lucario didn't have Extreme Speed, because he had space for cover. He had filled that space for coverage moves instead. Very interesting Lucario set, one I really liked actually. I'm not going to reveal it because odds are my opponent is going to probably use it again in the future. So I'm not going to spoil his sets. So here he brings in the Politoed, which is his check to this thing, as I just bring in my Tangrowth. I don't want to risk the Ice Beam Freeze or the Scald Burn with Urshifu. So he brings Zapdos back in as I go for a Leaf Storm and I miss. It wouldn't have killed, but it would have been nice damage. As I just bring in my Dusknoir here, because at this point after rocks, it's I believe a 60% chance to kill my Dusknoir here with his Zapdos. So he gets back up to 82%, and at this point I am out of range. It is out of range of a Wicked Blow from Urshifu. So I know that I have to snag off Dusknoir, which I was prepared to do anyways, to bring it back down into range for Urshifu. So here, I just go for a Shadow Sneak, brings it down to 60%, which is in range. So he goes for Hurricane, Dusknoir goes down, in comes the Urshifu. And so here, it's once again a game of what's your sack. I'm expecting his sack to be the Deoxys, because it really doesn't have much of a use anymore now that the Finny and the Orbital are gone. So down goes the Deoxys. And the rain ends, and he brings his Politoed back in. I go back out into Tangrowth. So he goes for Sleep Talk, and he gets the Ice Beam. He's been very lucky with the Sleep Talk. My computer froze. My computer did freeze there, so I may or may not edit that out of the video. So anyways, he goes for Scald here, as I go for Gauge Rain. Do a nice hefty chunk to this thing. And this was a big... Let's pretend that didn't happen. I'm not going to edit that out, just because you're probably gonna find it funny. But that was I'm gonna consider that. I consider that a really big misplay on his end, because his Politoed is weak. It's at 48%, which means that Urshifu guaranteed kills it here. Like, unless he's like very close to, like, I'm pretty sure Urshifu is guaranteed to kill it here with a Wicked Blow at 48%. Swampert dies, and Zapdos dies. So here, I decide I'm going to go into my Mega Scizor. Because Mega Scizor at this point, it has no use. It can't come in for free on the Deoxys anymore. And so it's a 50% chance after rocks for Zapdos to kill. I think it's like 56% chance with the Calcs for him to kill. Mega Scizor here with a Hurricane from Zapdos. So for me, in my head, it would be either he kills and I get Urshifu in for free, and his rain ends that turn, and his rain ends the turn after Urshifu picks up a kill. Or I stay in and U-turn, and either get free momentum into Urshifu, or I died at the Zapdos the following turn. Either way, the result's the same. So, Giga Drain off, bring it down to 44%. And I go into Mega Scizor here, and down goes Mega Scizor. He does get the roll to kill. I'm really glad he didn't go for a Roost here, because that could have been bad. That could have been really bad. And so now, another game of what's your sack? So at this point, something dies. So for me, in my head, I knew that at this point, this was pretty much the game, because if Zapdos goes down, he has Mega Swampert left, but Mega Swampert is sort of walled by Tangrowth. Unless, of course, he gets like a freeze or a crit with Ice Punch. And even then, my calcs said that Waterfall from Mega Swampert wouldn't kill Urshifu. Of course, I found that out after the match, so you'll see in a bit why that's important. If Mega Swampert goes down here, Urshifu cleans up. If Politoed goes down here, Urshifu cleans up. So at this point, he's in a really bad spot. And he's in a position where he has to rely on hacks from either a static paralysis or from a freeze or a crit. So I go for the Wicked Blow here, and he just sacks off his Zapdos. No static paralysis. He brings in the Politoed, sets up the rain, and I go for a Wicked Blow here. Knock that thing out. And so, in comes the Swampert. Looking back now, Swampert wouldn't have killed with a Waterfall unless he'd crit. Or flinched. Or flinched. But that wasn't a risk. But even if I had known, that probably wasn't a risk I was going to take. So I just go into Tangrowth here. As he goes for an Ice Punch. So I could have stayed in with Urshifu and killed it, but I didn't want to take that risk. And so I know I can take another one and kill it with Giga Drain. He gets the Ice Punch. He freezes me, but I thaw it immediately. And that ends up being the game. So I do want to say GG to my opponent, Peta. He played that game really well. He has a really scary team. I forgot to mention this at the start of the match, but he was also undefeated going into this match. He was actually the top. He was actually the top team in the minor league. Of course, that doesn't really matter too much, given that it's the first week of the season. But he was the only person to get a 6-0. And so that's pretty astounding. It's quite the feat. But Urshifu ends up picking up, I believe, 4 kills. Yeah, Urshifu ends up picking up 4 kills. And Tangrowth picks up his first kill of the season in its first game of the season. So, like I said, GG to my opponent. So once again, sorry for bringing this up late. But life is what life is. These are hectic times. So, anyways, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the battle. And until next time, peace.